All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nieves, and I am with Anthem Indiana Medicaid. Today, we'll be talking about adult nutrition. This covers topics on both adult and child nutrition, so we'll be mentioning that as we go forward. So first of all, who's Anthem? Anthem is an insurance organization that helps lower-income families and people with disabilities obtain low-cost health care through Medicaid programs. We currently have over 750,000 members in the state of Indiana, and we also have been with the state of Indiana since 2007. We have 3 plans that we offer, which include Who's Your Healthwise, Healthy Indiana Plan, and Who's Your Care Connect. Each one of these plans is curated to best serve the needs of the population. So for example, Who's Your Healthwise has benefits that most help children and pregnant women. Healthy Indiana Plan has benefits that most help individuals 19 through 64 and so on. So what does Anthem Indiana Medicaid cover? Well, it covers essentially all that you need to stay healthy and maintain your health. It covers dental, vision, pharmacy and prescription drugs. And with Who's Your Care Connect, it also covers some assistive devices such as walkers and canes. Other extras that we have and include our transportation to certain locations, such as doctor's appointments or FSSA redetermination appointments as well. And I like to talk about our cell phones that we offer too, because a lot of people may have Anthem, but may not be using this benefit. So we offer free cell phones if that's what you're interested in. And other programs that we include to stay healthy is our 24/7 nurse line. You can call this number at any time. If your child is sick, maybe if you're uncertain, if you need to go to the emergency room, you can call this number and they will guide you through steps that you may need to take. We also offer case management services. This is anything from behavioral case management to prenatal care, high-risk pregnancies, and healthcare management as well. And we also offer health education workshops such as this one. So today, and particularly, we're going to be covering healthy eating plans and how to eat healthy on a budget. This includes subjects such as the 5 food groups, the benefits of eating a healthy diet, and portion sizes. So if you have any questions about this presentation, please feel free to let me know. So starting off, it is important to emphasize that a healthy eating plan includes fruits, it includes vegetables, it includes whole grains, and fat-free or low-fat milk. Again, in modern times, there are many alternatives to milk. There are dairy-free milk, there's almond milk, soy milk, and so on and so forth, which we will cover moving on. And a healthy eating plan is also one that includes lean meats. It includes poultry, it includes fish, beans, eggs, and nuts. All of these are very versatile. We will talk about this moving forward, but for example, eggs, it can be used in a variety of dishes, both in breakfast and lunch. It can be added to meals. It can be used to increase the volume in meals without spending more money. And a healthy eating plan is also one that is low in saturated fats, such as butter, cream, cheese, porks, and other fatty meats. It states, it's important to emphasize that it says low in saturated fats because we don't want you to completely avoid these. For example, cheese is something that is included in many diets. Maybe not 2 cups of cheese in a meal, maybe a 1/4 cup is beneficial, and so on and so forth. Butter is something that you can cook with, but it is important to be moderate about how you use it. In addition to this, a healthy eating plan is also one that is low in trans fats. Trans fats can be found in a variety of quick-to-eat pastries. Think Little Debbie's, such as cakes, pies, cookies, donuts, as well as breakfast sandwiches. So breakfast sandwiches can be something that are really convenient, especially for in the morning when you have to rush your kids to school and so on and so forth. I know my little siblings eat it every once in a while. So it does have that convenience factor, but it's also important to remember that it is pretty high in trans fats. So every once in a while is okay, but every day isn't necessarily recommended. And also a healthy eating plan is something that is low in cholesterol. Cholesterol can be found in fast foods. It can be found in shellfish. It can be found in sausages and red meats. Red meats is kind of an interesting topic because red meats are also very expensive. So you want to try to maintain your consumption of red meats to maintain your budget and also to maintain your cholesterol as well. And a healthy eating plan is also one that is low in salt and added sugars. Something I will say about salt is that some individuals may require more salt than others. For example, in these hot summer days, if you have a child that is playing sports, maybe it is better for them to consume more salt because they will be sweating out those electrolytes and so on and so forth. But generally, it is important to maintain salt in your diet. Added sugars is also something that a lot of people are not aware of or may not be thinking of when they are consuming foods. Later in this presentation, we'll talk a little bit about fruit juices and how added sugars are included in fruit juices a lot as well. So it is important to control portion size, which we'll talk about later. There's a difference between portion and serving size that a lot of people don't think of or fail to consider when eating. And a healthy eating plan is also something that stays within daily caloric needs. So daily caloric needs vary greatly based on age, gender, and exercise. For example, a 15-year-old female who is moderately exercising may need to consume more calories than a 50-year-old male who is very sedentary in his lifestyle. Again, these are just references. We don't necessarily want you to be consuming 1,800 calories a day or 2,200 calories a day. It's important that you talk to your physician and use other tools to better determine your daily caloric needs. Here's where we get into the MyPlate, which I'll talk about for a little bit. It is replacing the food pyramid. So in 2011, the United States Department of Agriculture introduced MyPlate because they want you to they want you to avoid messages of telling you what to eat exactly. And it does serve as a better visual tool rather than having a pyramid. You can have a plate to look at as reference. These icons also serve as a reminder to eat healthy. So really quickly, I'm going to take you to myplate.com, .gov, so we can investigate it a little bit further. All right, hopefully you can see my page now. And so this is the page that you initially start off with when you go to myplate.gov. And then you want to click here on resources and tools and go down here to MyPlate plan. As it states here, it'll show you your food group target, and it will personalize your plan based on what we talked about earlier, your age, your sex, your height, and your weight, and your physical activity level. Oh, let's see. Well, it looks like it's down right now, but if it was working, you could simply just enter your information here. It'll ask you for your age, your sex, your height, your weight, and your physical activity level. And then it will curate a plan for you and recommend your daily caloric intake. That way you can get a better idea of what calories you should be eating a day and how much of what serving you should be eating per day as well. So check that out on your own time. That's something that I highly recommend. All right. Let's get back to there. Okay. So it's important to know the 5 food groups when we are talking about nutrition. Starting off, we'll be talking about grains. These are very high in fiber, high in B vitamins, and high in minerals. These foods include anything from wheat, rice, oats, cornmeal, and cereal grains. This is where you fall into the category of breakfast cereals, pasta, bread. Grains is probably the most versatile food group, just because you can make a variety of things with grains, as you can see, tortillas and grits. Beyond this, grains are divided into 2 subgroups, which would be whole grains and refined grains. Refined grains are a little bit more processed and therefore have a lot of the fiber and iron and B vitamins removed, but they do have a longer shelf life. Next, we'll talk about vegetables, which is maybe one of the most important ones due to the fact that they are packed with vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Vegetables, again, are organized into 5 subgroups. which would be your dark green vegetables, including broccoli, greens, and spinach. Next would be your starchy vegetables, which are your corns, your green peas, and your white potatoes. And then red and orange vegetables are carrots, tomatoes, sweet potatoes, and winter squash. Tomatoes is something that's kind of been debated whether or not it's a fruit or vegetable, but I think for the purposes of the MyPlate, the USDA has chosen to include it in the vegetables for now. Beans and peas also are vegetables, as well as other vegetables such as sprouts, celery, cucumbers, and mushrooms. Next is fruits. So fruits are very high in potassium. Potassium is another electrolyte that we talked about earlier. Potassium is lost through sweating. A lot of people recommend eating bananas if you want to regain your electrolytes and your potassium levels. Fruits are also high in vitamin C and fiber. So eating a variety of fruits is important in your diet, and you can do this through eating frozen fruits, vegetables, fresh vegetables, canned and dry fruits. Other examples are fruit juices. And as I mentioned earlier, it is important to limit fruit juices, or at least read the nutrition labels on fruit juices, just because they often have lots of processed sugars added to it to make it sweeter, to make it taste a certain way, and so on. Next is dairy. So dairy is very high in protein. It's very high in calcium, iron, and zinc. There's a reason that schools want you to consume dairy with each meal. It's because there are a lot of great benefits to having dairy. Other examples include milk, yogurt, cheese, milk-based desserts, and soy milk. So with soy milk, again, it's important to address that there are many lactose-free, animal product-free alternatives to dairy. So it doesn't necessarily have to be animal products. In case you had somebody in your household who wanted to limit the consumption of animal products, or just wanted to completely avoid animal products altogether. Again, if you do choose sweetened milk products, do be aware of the added sugars, and try other calcium sources if you don't want to consume dairy, such as kale, canned fish. Tofu is a great one, and almond milk as well. Finally, protein. Protein is obviously packed with protein. It's packed with calcium, iron, and zinc. Meats, poultry, seafood, beans, and eggs, and nuts and seeds as well. Again, mentioning once more, if you have somebody in the household who doesn't particularly enjoy eating animal products, you can still get your daily intake of protein through other means such as eggs, nuts, and seeds. It's important to avoid high fat meats and try to go for the leaner meats such as skinless, boneless chicken breasts or extra lean ground beef. It's also important to remember portion sizing and daily caloric intake when consuming protein. One thing I would recommend with protein is that you can actually purchase whole parts of chicken and break it down as well. This will end up saving you money, and it will also get those pieces. It also allows you to remove the bits and pieces that you don't necessarily enjoy from your chicken. And it's important to bake, broil, or grill your food. Don't fry it if you don't have to. Baking, broiling, or grilling are much healthier alternatives. And finally, oils. So oils aren't technically a food group, but they do provide essential nutrients. Common oils include canola oil, corn, olive oil, many fruit oils or seed oils are included. And foods that are high in oils include peanuts, cashews, and so on, as well as fish and avocado. So it's important to be aware, once again, of the caloric density of such nuts, such as peanuts and cashews, just because a handful can be as much as 200 calories due to the high amount of oils in them. And foods that include mostly oils are mayonnaise and certain salad dressings, as well as soft margarine with no trans fats. So once more, when you're eating your salad, it is important to be aware of your dressing that you're adding to it, because many times the dressing will consist of the majority of the calories in the salad. So we've been talking all about eating well. So what is it? How does it matter? Why is it important? Well, eating well helps you feel well. It helps you feel better and can help you better deal with the stressors of everyday life. It can help your body be well balanced with the right amount of nutrients and vitamins and minerals in your body. And it provides you with the right amount of fuel to give you energy. in a sense, it allows you to be a better oiled machine and to deal with the daily hassles of life in a much better manner. It can help you also prevent health conditions such as heart disease and stroke, bone problems and joint problems if you're not consuming calcium. And it also decreases your overall cost of healthcare services in the future. So think of it as a preventative measure rather than a maintenance measure. And it'll also allow you to have fewer doctor's visits throughout the year. It'll have you go to the hospital less surgeries, less prescription medicines. So all of these benefits can come from simply eating well and being more aware of your diet in the long term. Next, we're going to talk about nutrition labels. This is really important to understand, especially as a healthy eater. If you're trying to feed the right things to your children and to yourself, this is very crucial. So food labels include vitamins, minerals, calories, sugars, and fats, and it will help you determine the food that's good for you, as well as how much of the certain food you should eat. Because again, we don't want you to completely cut out certain foods from your diet. We want you to be more moderate about what it is that you're consuming. So making sense of food labels. I know there's a lot of information on this page, but we're going to try and break it down. Hopefully you can see the page well. Starting from the very top on the left-hand side, you can see that this is a label for macaroni and cheese. The first thing at the very top of the page states the nutrition facts. And so starting from the top, you can see the serving size. The serving size tells you how many servings are in the package. And it also allows you to determine how much of that food is one serving. So as you can see here on this packaging, the serving size of the macaroni and cheese is 1 cup, and there are a total of 2 servings per container. The next thing that the nutrition fact label is going to tell you is the amount of calories that are in the product per serving. So you can see here, the amount per serving is 250 calories, and 110 of those calories come from fat. So somebody that may pick up this box may not be reading the nutrition label and simply see 250 calories and consume the entire box. And without knowing, they're consuming 2 servings and 500 calories of macaroni and cheese. The next thing that it tells you is the amount of fat, the cholesterols, the sugars, and the sodiums. It'll also list the amount of carbohydrates and protein here as well. It'll tell you if you're eating too much of a certain macronutrient, such as too much fat or too much carbohydrates for the day. So here you can see that there's a total of 12 grams of fat and 31 grams of carbohydrates and 5 grams of protein. The next thing that I would like to touch on is the percent daily value. So the percent daily value assumes that you're consuming 2,000 calories a day, just to make it easy. So it's breaking it down on how many grams of fat or sodium or protein that you've had given the reference of a 2,000 calorie diet. So if you were on a 2,000 calorie diet and you consumed a serving of this mac and cheese, then you would have 18% of your daily value of fat already consumed there. Here you can see that this food is pretty high in calcium with the 20% of your daily intake or more. And then the next thing that it talks about is your vitamin A's, your vitamin C's, your calcium, and your iron. So it also breaks down your vitamins and your calcium as well. So yeah, that's how you read a nutrition label. I'm sure that you can get a lot more practice on your daily shopping trip next time you go. Remember the important thing to remember is that the amount that's in the container is not always the serving size. There could be multiple serving sizes per container. And it's important to learn to read how much of a macronutrient is present in your food and micronutrients as well. So finding the right portion that's right for you, you're going to determine your daily calorie needs. And you can do this with the MyPlate tool that I showed you earlier. And then 2, you want to use a food intake chart. You don't necessarily have to use this food intake chart if you don't want to. There are plenty of other amazing tools out there, such as MyFitnessPal is an application that you can use to download, and it will very quickly look up the food that you are consuming and give you the breakdown of the calories, the carbs, the sugars, and the fats, as well as other details of that food that you're consuming. But if you wanted to, you could fill this chart out the time that you ate the food, how much of the food you ate, the kind of food, and then break it down and subtract the amount of calories that you want to eat per day by the amount of calories that this food has given you. And hopefully you can get it down to 0 by the end of the day if you're eating within your daily caloric needs. So it's important to be honest that we don't always have measuring devices on us. So it's helpful to get a different gauge on your body to measure these sizes. So for example, 1 level handful will be about 1/4 of a cup, and then 1 heaping handful will be about 1/2 a cup. 2 handfuls is about 1 cup, and then 1 finger scoop is about 1 teaspoon, and 2 finger scoops is about 1 tablespoon. Again, this is not an exactly perfect way of measuring, but it does serve as a decent reference if you don't have a measuring device on you. So again, let's address the difference between portion and serving size. I know it kind of sounds like we're hammering away at this, but it is very, very important that it is understood. So sometimes portion size and serving size are the same thing. For example, 1 cookie might be equal to 1 serving size of the cookie, or it might be 2 cookies is equal to 1 serving size. But most of the time, serving size and portion are not the same. So the difference between portion and serving size is that portion is how much food you choose to eat at one time. So let's say that, let's go back to the macaroni and cheese example. Let's say that you serve yourself a bowl full of macaroni and cheese. Well, this is your portion, but it may not be equal to the serving of that food. So the serving is the amount of food listed on a product's nutrition label. So let's say that you serve yourself a bowl full of macaroni and cheese. Well, this could be equal to 3 or 4 servings. And if you ate it, you could eat 3 or 4 servings without knowing. So going back to the recommended servings per day, these are simply suggested servings. I would recommend you go to the MyPlate.gov app and get a better idea of the suggested servings, but this just is a decent reference for a day-to-day reference. So veggies, for example, 5 servings per day is recommended. This could be 5 cups of vegetables, for example. 4 fruit servings are recommended per day. So this could be a cup of fruit juice and 3 cups of fruit, for example. And again, it varies by what food you're eating. It could also be 1/2 a cup of dried fruits. So it's important to understand that as well. Finally, let's get to the healthy eating tips. Number 1, variety is key. You want to make sure you're eating a variety of different foods, variety of different whole grains, a variety of different vegetables. An important rule that we like to follow is the rainbow rule. So the more colorful the meal is, the better. The more fruits and vegetables that you can put on your plate to create this rainbow effect of different colors, different types of food, the better. And again, everything in moderation, right? We don't want you to cut anything out. We don't want you to punish yourself for trying to eat better. We simply want to reduce the amount of certain foods that you're eating and possibly increase the amount of healthier foods that you're eating. So eat moderate portions. Understand that maybe at times at restaurants, they can serve you 2 to 3 times the amount of servings, and never supersize your meal. I don't know if this is a practice anymore at McDonald's or other places, but do try to eat in moderation whenever possible. Next is to eat breakfast. Breakfast helps jumpstart your metabolism. It helps your body begin its digestive processes and prepare your body to eat later on in the day as well. It will prevent you from getting hungry during lunch or during dinner and then consuming more than what you need to. It's important to, again, eat regular meals. Serve small meals throughout the day to keep your metabolism going and your energy level up. You don't want to save all your calories for the end of the day and then proceed to binge eat or do other unhealthy eating habits. Stay hydrated. It's important to limit sugary drinks as well. I know that, as I mentioned earlier, during the summertime, a lot of individuals sweat and so forth. And so we want to reach for maybe a sports drink when we're not so aware that the sports drinks are very high in added sugars. But those are necessary for some individuals who are doing that strenuous activity. And then again, drink plenty of water. You want to aim for 8 ounce glasses per day. This can be This can be from the food you eat, and it can also be just from drinking straight water. Drinking water also helps your body understand whether you're hungry or whether you're not. If you're dehydrated, you'll feel more hungry. So you definitely want to make sure that you're hydrated during all times. And then you also want to pack a healthy lunch. So avoid buying fast food or snacking on unhealthy foods. Let's say that you're at work and you get an hour break for lunch. If you have packed a healthy meal, then you're going to eat that healthy meal. But if you haven't, then you're most likely going to go search for fast food or some other healthy alternative. And then prepare meals in advance and refrigerate or freeze them. So if you have something at home, you're less likely to go out again to the drive-through and purchase an unhealthy meal. It's surprising how little prep time it takes to have a healthy meal. Something as simple as having fruits or vegetables cut up for your children to eat or for yourself to snack on later is a great alternative. And then always ask if there's a healthier choice. Many times at restaurants, they do have a healthier choice, whether it be using a different type of oil cooking, using a different type of grain when cooking, and so on and so forth. So it is important to always ask if there's a healthier choice. And the worst that they could say is no at that time. And then know when to stop, right? You don't want to eat past being full. I know growing up, my mom always pushed me to finish what was on my plate, which is a great practice, right? Because you do want to make sure that you're eating enough, but you don't want to make sure that you're eating too much to where you're eating when you're uncomfortable, right? Eating slower is a good way to do this. It'll give your brain or your body time to tell your brain that it's full. I've read places that it takes as much as 15 minutes for the message to get sent from your stomach to your brain that you're full. So it is important to take time. And then next, create a shopping list, right? You want to know what you're going to the store to obtain. You want to know what meals you're going to be cooking throughout the week. That way you're not having to run to the store and potentially purchase more items than you need throughout the week. As it states, generally people who use a shopping list avoid impulse buying and spend less money overall. And with this comes looking for purchasing bulk items. So it keeps for longer periods of time and can be eaten in different ways. For example, if you purchase a bag of rice, you can cook it with 3 meals a week and go through the bag of rice in the whole month. And it can be used in a variety of different dishes and in a variety of different manners. It gives the example of oatmeal down here as well. It can be eaten plain with fruits, with cinnamon. You can make many breakfast snacks with it as well. And then buy fresh produce when it is in season. You want to stock up when it's at a good price. You can always freeze it and refrigerate it as well. The next thing you can do to eat healthy on a budget is to watch ads for coupons and things you already use. I know Target does a great job at this. CVS has a number of coupons you can use, as well as Dollar General. You can look in a variety of different stores that offer this as well. Frozen vegetables are often cheaper than fresh as well, and they can keep frozen for a very long time with very little prep time. A lot of stores sell frozen packages that you can simply throw in the microwave and they're ready to eat in 5 to 6 minutes. One thing I will say about frozen vegetables is that oftentimes they're also more nutritious than fresh vegetables, given that they're frozen, flash frozen within minutes of being harvested. Versus fresh vegetables, they may take some time to get to you and may have lost some of their nutritional value by the time you purchase it and cook it. Next thing you want to do is look for less expensive cuts of meat. Instead of chicken breasts, try legs or thighs. Many times stores will discount meat when it's closer to the use by date, and you can always cook this that same night or freeze it for later. The reason that they want you to purchase it by the use by date is because it is refrigerated at the time, and there are many USDA rules that require them to sell it by use by date, but it doesn't mean that it is any less healthy for you at that time. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you can use grains and beans to stretch your meals. For example, you can use chili or bean soups for smaller meals and use it as a sort of filling. And then you can place the leftovers in a frozen bag and simply reheat it at a later time. The next thing you can do to eat healthy on a budget is to use your leftovers to make something new, right? You don't necessarily want to be eating the same thing all the time. You could always repurpose it and use a different ingredient to make a different food, just to increase the variety in your diet as well. And take advantage of shoppers cards. I know Kroger has shoppers cards, Payless has shoppers cards. These are very helpful to save you money. Many times it can be substantially more expensive if you don't use a shoppers card. So that's why they encourage you to use it. And it is very beneficial to you in the long run as well. And finally, find recipes on sites such as Pinterest. I know Facebook has a lot. You can scour the web for various recipes for cooking on a budget as well. So yeah, that's all. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.